We are up to the penultimate daf of Masechta Makos. We're up to daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph on the top of the page of Gemara. The Mishnah told us how you actually administer the Malchus itself. You have a Amud, and then you tie him down both hands, and the Shamish stands there on a rock behind him, and he gives him Malchus, and in multiples of three, and all that. As we'll see in the Gemara covers it. Says the Gemara, my time, what is the reason? Now, the Rishonim have a big argument as to what exactly the question is my time. There's like three different pshatim there. What exactly we're asking. But my time, what is the reason? In fact, because of that, we're not even sure what the Gemara is asking here. Many people take it out of the Gemara altogether. From Nikla, because we want to humiliate him. So they want to say why he stands on a rock, why he stands on different questions, what exactly my time is. Or why you have to rip the shirt. Because we rip his shirt, he pulls him by the scruff, and he rips and falls into pieces. We started off saying that this strap, which is doubled over and becomes four straps, is made out of calf hide. You see, because there's a posik. You should give him 40 malchus, and we had this very yesterday. How do we get that? Reduces to 39. It was samachle, and the pasuk following that it says lesachsim shoy b'disha. If you remember, that's the paradigm for malchus. You shouldn't muzzle the animal while he's threshing. So, and we're talking about a shoyer. So therefore, the strap, the juxtaposition tells us the strap should be out of cow hide. Now that we mentioned about this juxtaposition, we'll do some other things. Fell before a mukashkin, somebody that's full of boils and everything else, and he was very difficult to live with. If she says, I don't want to live with him, how do you know that we're not going to muzzle her and we're not going to discourage her from saying, I don't want to live with him? If it says, it says that you shouldn't muzzle. And then nearby it says, talks about a Yavama. In other words, you can't force anybody to marry anybody, but we would have thought the mitzvah of Yibum is, of course, we know there's a Mishnah that says that you force a woman who's married to Mukashkin, we actually try to force him to divorce her, and she should have to live with him. So why would you think that Yavam is different? So we would know the pshat like this. We would have thought, because there's a mitzvah say to get married, to marry your brother-in-law, preference for chalitza, we would have thought we would say to her, marry him and then give a divorce. So you fulfill the mitzvah, because remember, Bir Hashem is the only mitzvah. So you fulfill the mitzvah, and then afterwards do what other Gemara says that you have to divorce. She doesn't have to marry him, and we don't muzzle her mouth. Obviously, Rav Sheshes and Rav Zaya were hundreds of years apart. That's why every time it says Meshum, it doesn't mean her directly, it means there were people in between. Like Rav Yechon constantly quotes Rav Shimon Yochai, which you never saw. Anybody who degrades Yom Tovim Kilo Ovid Abazar is tantamount to Ovid Abazar. That's what it says. It says in the pasuk, "You should make yourself idols." And not far away, it says, "As Chag Hamatzas Tishma." Now, there's a big machek is a shaynim when it says "Kol Mabazas Hamaydim." If you degrade the Maydim, we have a period as well. Is Rashi the Rivon here says it's Cholamayid. Talking Cholamayid. And others say we're talking about Yom Tov itself. And when we say Mavaza, what are we talking about? Are we talking about working Malacha? We're talking about not eating properly, not eating the meat you're supposed to eat on Yom Tov, and Yayin you're supposed to drink. Again, a machlek Yerushalayim. What it means, Mavaz. Yeah.
Like a story. And he just got married, and he put on a beautiful brand new suit, very fancy suit. I met the Rosh Hashiva of 770 Yom came to him and said that you have a problem with Vada Samoidis. He's not wearing kapata, and Chabad wear kapata on Shabbos and Yom Tov. So Cholamayid shouldn't be worse.
There you have it. So it's a Ribon, but it's Cholamayid. Look right here in the Ribon, second line from the top, Moedas, he says Chol Shamayid. But other Rishonim they were talking about Yom Tov. Others wanted Achreinim want to make it totally if the Easter of working a Cholamayid is Mahatayra Midrabanan. No, if it's Ma'atayda, then it's talking about Cholamayid. You mavaza and Oivla. If there's a lot of work on Yom on Cholamayid, it's only the Rabbanon said you shouldn't work, and we had in the beginning Moikot. If it's the Rabbanon said you shouldn't work, then mavaza's Moedas is not talking about Cholamayid, it's talking about Yom Tov itself. And how you mavaza Yom Tov by not being the kind of mitzvah of oinig and all that and simcha. Okay, let's continue. Not anybody who speaks lashon hara. Not anybody who receives lashon hara. We'll learn the three people, that kills three people. And anybody who testifies falsely, he deserves to be thrown to dogs. And the Achreim say means after he dies. Shouldn't be buried. His corpse should go to the dogs. Why? The Chsibah says like you toss it away to the dogs. And not far from there, it says Leisisa Shem Mashav. It says in the pasuk Leisisa Shem Mashav that you shouldn't. And Leisisa means you shouldn't hear, false things. And nor we read also Leisasi. You shouldn't be propagating false things. That was lashon hara. And then the pasuk continues Al Toshes Yotchim Rasha Aid. So therefore, these are the three things. And Korbanah Leisashi. We stated too is that two straps. Then after you have the straps of the cab, you also have the donkey straps that we said you stitch it on into the holes. Why taka the add the chamor? It doesn't really do much. So why is it? It's more symbolic. Symbolic of what? Well, the pasuk says that Yoda shoy kaneu. A shoy knows exactly who his master is. The chamor, the chamor, exactly where his food comes from and where the trough is. But Yisrael, Yoda ami, the people, the Eden, don't know who I am. So therefore, we have the donkey, we have the shoyd, and we have the donkey in the strap. So this person did an avera. And therefore, the chamay strap, is supposed to teach a lesson. It's instructive. Yada tefer, the handle has to be a tefer wide. So if the tab has to be a tefer wide, you have to be able to wrap it around the stomach. Whether it's it's the width around the stomach or the length around but Abai says every person is different size. You have very big people, you need a bigger strap. So he says they had a whole bunch of straps, all different sizes, all bunch of different sizes to see which one will get around to the front. Bezin will have to have a whole room, just full of straps. It has like these a knot that you can like these hats, you can exactly adjustable. If you have to make it shorter, they would tie it, deeper. If they want to loosen it, they can make the strap longer. There are about 10 lines in a wide line, but we're explaining the Mishnah about how you administer Malchus. Malchus, how do you know it has to be like one in the front and three in the back? Says the Gemara. The shayfet, that's why he has to stand on a rock and he goes down. Because it says in the pasuk in Lashon Yochid, he called the fun of Kedeidish Asai. He hits him in front of him for his one risha. So one belt has to go in front. So because there's one in Mufanov, then the rest in the back. Two in the back, one in the front. How you know the strap has to be doubled over? But we said we have a strap and we had a machlekes whether it was two straps that double over make it four, or one strap double over twice and you cut it to make it four. Why do you have to double it over? It says v'hipiloi, and we darshan as if it says v'hichpiloi. Hipiloi is v'hichpiloi. Double it up. You just used before hipiloi that you need it for itself. Right, that the guy has to be leaning over the amud, and you have to he pila. You're dropping it. Just lean him over. My he pilish mamlatati. You look two things from here. Hamaka maka biyada. That when you go up, but when you go down, you hit with one hand. With one hand because you have much more force. Remember, you have to be ruthless. And this is interesting. The word says it. On one hand, we want to be ruthless. You're standing on a rock, so you're higher up, and you, with one hand, you throw the strap down. All your might and all your strength. So we learned, the people administer it should dafka be weaker people. It's like, so what exactly is going on? You want to dafka do it at full strength, but the full strength of a weak person. So on the one hand, exactly. So on one hand, you need full strength, but it dafka should be from a weak person. There was no half some measures. You deserve to get punished, to get full strength. Well, from Satan's side, we make sure we have Rahmanas, like we learned yesterday in Gemara, what makes Tamil Chacham so special. And we say they matter, but there should also be intelligent people. Says the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda, and I feel say they mad. Even people are not so intelligent. If you say the Kaich are very strong, in brute force. No compassion there. Makes sense. It says a pasuk, don't add any more. Pen Yosef. Why do you have to warn the guy? The guy is smart. He's a Talmud Chacham. Then obviously he knows he can't have more than 39. Obviously it's a guy. He thinks, oh, the guy deserves petra. I'll give him another few petra. What's the big deal? He obviously that's so knowledgeable. Then warn, hey. And we have one guy, we'll still see, we have one judge counting the whole time. Eliyamid, you say to Madav, if you're talking about somebody who's very smart, if you're a Talmud Chacham, why do you have to warn him not to hit more than 39? Says but even a Talmud Chacham who already is very careful, they need more reminders and warnings. When you lift the strap, you use both hands. It must be pretty heavy. When you're about to administer the malchus, you only hit with one hand. The lesson in order that it comes from your kfayach, or that it comes by itself. It's all your force, nothing else. Then we read the sukkim. I told you the Mashal said yesterday, each one of those sukkim have 13 words, and you keep on reading. So we learn. You have 50 on it. One reads the sukkim. Hasheni Moina, the second guy counts. So you need a dedicated person to count. It's like by chuppah, they should have a person whose job is to count how many times they go around. Because you end up going. I went to Chassan recently. He went 13 times. Exactly. You need it. The third one says hit, hit, hit. Then it says Bisman Shemake Meruba. It lets us get the full 39, and therefore what do you want the psukim? It's Marich, the Chaz, the one who's saying the psukim should go very slowly. Like my mincha, over Shabbos, they say the Chaz is very, very slow, while they do Glil and everything else, so you very slowly. And Bisman Shemakim Wetzis, if let's say the doctor said you're going to take 18, for example, Mikatsa, it's going to go faster. In other words, adjust the psukim to the length of time it takes. So we're around that phase is going to make a information mission that you go back to the beginning. In other words, we expected you to say it more than once. So you want mitzvah, tzamtzum. Ideally, the psukim should finish at the same time. You have when the makar. He likes him. If he didn't, you go back to meeting. So I learned makar rabba. It says in pasuk makar rabba. It says in the pasuk, don't give more than it is. What kind of expression is makarab? Makarab sounds like a lot of extras hits. Makarab. If you hit him a lot, extra. But makar muet is manai. I know only one or two. I know so he's the wrong thing. When it says in the beginning of the pasuk, lo yosef doesn't say rabba. It just says lo yosef, not even one more. He gave matam makarab. So why did it say makarab? Limit our shyness shehein makarabba. That tell you that even that if he is whatever makkah you gave him, that's the makarabba, and therefore don't give any more than that. His kalko. Then we learned if you remember the whole idea is that he should be humiliated. So this kalko, if the person was humiliated by suddenly defecating whatever or excreting or urine machlekes, if it's echadisha, whether both things suddenly they suddenly they soil their pants, that's embarrassing enough, and therefore that's the punishment or not. Or if a different man and woman, Abu Yehuda always makes a difference. But he said that shame by a woman and that the shame by the shame by a woman is much worse. As I say, and so a man or a woman, even a man holds only thing that's embarrassing is if you have excrement. But if it's just soiling your pants, that's not embarrassing enough to say that you're potter for the rest of the moments. Abu Yehuda says, Abu Yehuda says, a woman, if she's soiling the pants, is very embarrassing. For man, it isn't. Anything is humiliating, and that's good enough. Says the Gemara, the same Rabbi Yehuda says, that Rabbi Yehuda himself said only thing that humiliates them if it's excrement. No, what it means there is that everyone, that a man and a woman are the same when it comes to Mayim. A woman is different than a man. That's what he meant to say. How much spoke of? They tied him up. They tied him up, and he fled. They tied him up already, so that's already humiliating, and he fled. Potter. Because he already went through humiliation. Not only they passed him, but they actually tied him down to this beam. Makes us a question. Now, it says, let's say that they embarrass themselves by urinating or solid from the pants. Bein b'nishayna, bein b'shniya, paitanus. Big machlekes shayna. What do you mean bein b'nishayna b'shniya? According to the Ivan, even when they didn't hit him yet, they're just about to hit him, and he then soiled his pants, he goes free. And b'shniya means in the middle of the hitting. Others say no. That bein b'nishayna means after the first, just one makkah, and the shniya means a number of makkahs. The strap ripped, the shnia paita, the shnia paita, but the strap ripped, not because you soiled your pants, just the strap ripped. If but the shina, you don't walk away, whichever way you learn the shina. Only if it's and you don't send your way. Our question is, what's in the running? He ran away. My Levi Kurotz. He ran away. You tell me that what? That he's punted from getting Malchus again. Even we catch him, apprehend him. So why you over here? If the strap ripped, we don't. I think about a there's no longer best, and therefore he had the humiliation. You add that humiliation as well. And over here, interesting. Some of the Rishonim say the humiliation is not the way we're learning about Nafshat. That the person who is being punished is humiliated. It's the Bezdin humiliated that they couldn't carry out their psak. Like we have a constant Bobasas, elusive the Beidinas. Like the Bezdin is being humiliated. Let's say they assessed him that if he gets Malkus Kala, they assessed him as soon as they start hitting him, he is going to soil his pants and so on. But then it's if that was assessment, we let him go straight away.
He doesn't even have to go through the experience.
He already has the humiliation. Remember, the whole purpose seems to me the kapara is not the pain.
They assessed him that he's going to dirty himself.
That's part of the humiliation as well. If they didn't assess it, and after he went out, what do you call it? He didn't assess it. He just he was a urinate straight away, whatever it is. We wait, and then we give him his malchus. Sorry, so this malchus. If he before we started, there's no assessment. Before he started, he was kala. He saw himself. He humiliated himself. They will wait, and then they'll give malchus. It says once he got his malchus, it doesn't help anymore. Or either or first it was kala and bezin before they gave him any malchus, or he did it after he finished all the malchus. He got his malchus, or he won't, or he'll still get his malchus. Whatever. It's only if they assessed him. They assessed him, or it happened. It happened in the middle of the malchus. Now the next Mishnah is very important historically. Kol chayove krisa shelaku nifide krisasim. Any chayove krisas that got malchus, they don't get kares. Then it says v'nikla achicha le'nefa. That it says v'nikla achicha le'nefa. That means and we call him achicha kishalaka. Once he got his malchus, hareyu ki achicha like your brother. Divrei Rabbi Chanani Gamliel. Yosef Ben brings from the Ramaz. He says, why is there a whole Gemara Sanhedrin about chayovi misbed? A whole set of Makos about chayovi malchus. There's a whole Masechta Krisis about all the chayovi krisis, and there's no Masechta about Mishdei Shemayim. So here we have an opinion that says that chayovi krisis, you get malchus, he no longer gives courage because now he's a chicha completely. So Ramaz says, but Mishdei Shemayim, no one says that courage takes the place, and since it's nothing to do with the Adam, we have no Bnei Adam involved at all. Because Malchus doesn't take anything, and therefore we don't talk about it. It's up to the Eibishter what he wants to do with Shemai. As we'll see the Gemara soon.
We usually say Kamla B'Rabbaminai. Here he had the lesser punishment of Malchus, and that Malchus simply means.
We learn from a pasuk here that ridiculous chicha. So the basic thing explains Karas means you get cut off from your people, and therefore when you give a malchus, the process calls him a chicha. If he still gets kaddish, he's no longer a chicha. That's what kaddish is. Kaddish is cuts you off the people. So therefore, we learn over here. Because they ask, where did Ramaz get this from? Misa b'dei shemayim, you're not cut off from anybody. So therefore, how do you know that Malchus takes over the Mitzvah Shemaim?
I don't think you can't be him to a call, to a minion, or like the nichos of
yeah, if you know for sure he'll get caught. Right. That's why. So what happened? There's a big historically we spoke about it a few days ago. Historically, that's why they set up a bezdin in Tzfas that all the people, the Moranos who ate on Yom Kippur and the thing, they felt they were not eating anymore. They had cutters. So they said, "Come and give us Malchus." So what was the basis of the argument of the Maribei Rabbi, who was the chief rabbi of Tzfas, who started this with this Talmidim, Rabbi Yisrael Cairo and all that, the Alshich, or versus the Maribei? The main argument was, besides the fact that he was lying to 17 days later, the main argument was there was no Eidim Hasra here. They came voluntarily and said, "Yes, I ate on Yom Kippur." Can a voluntary admission give you malchus, and that malchus should remove the cutters. So Mariba Rav said a kavuchema. Madach, where you're forced into it. Eidim come nasro, and you should schlep you into bezin. Yet we say what that is a tshuva, and you don't need cutters. So therefore, you came forward yourself. You need a tshuva. Kavuchema. And the other one said, no, dafka, it's part of the dinim of bezin, the tools of bezin. It doesn't have the status of malchus if the guy came voluntarily and admitted it. That was really the crux of the argument. Anyway, you want a way to get cutters, you lose his nefesh. Imagine you do a mitzvah, do a mitzvah, you'll get your life back. Rabshina said, from your learn, it says, you don't have to make the kavuchayim for the very particular it says. They should be cut out, and it says, if you do the mitzvah, you will live. In other words, if you don't do these things, you get cursed. And if you don't do, you live. What do you mean? Just by being sitting there passively and not tempted to do an Aveda, and you don't doing it, as if you're tantamount to doing the mitzvah itself. It says a number of times in the Torah, make sure, be strong and everything else, and disciplined, do not taste blood. Because the blood circulates in nefesh. The blood, which is you find this repugnant. Nobody has this strong type. I need to eat blood, and yet look at that, you get kind of reward. So what about the Avedas that we are tempted to do? Gezel and Aroyas, naturally we have a type of these things. Has a strong desire and lust for it. Yet if you're tempted, imagine what kind of reward you have. For future, for your family. This is the famous Chananya ben Akasha that we say every time, right before Shachris and every time we finish the night. Chananya Akasha Hashem wants to give us as many chusim as possible. Gave them many mitzvahs, and as Rabbi Yvonne explains, many of the mitzvahs are mitzvahs that we have no intention of ever doing this Aveda. Like, for example, eating blood. And it's mentioned a number of times. Nobody really has a time to eat blood. Nevertheless, the Torah says the number of times. You know why? To give us schar, because every time there's blood there, we don't eat it, we get an extra schar. It says, Hashem chofetz l'man tzidka yagdol Torah v'yanda. He wanted to extend the Torah and make it beautiful. Lario.
Delicacy, like pudding, which is made of the blood.
Yeah.
It's the whole.
Well, liver is blood. Exactly. Anyway, let's get more further. There's a beautiful pshat, by the way, I forgot to tell you. We said makarabba. Lo Yosef and Yosef is a makarabba. Strange expression, makarabba. So somebody once wrote, I can't remember who, what, when. The Rambam writes there are 207 lavin in the Torah. When he counts all the lavin, there's 207. And this is what he says here. Makkah Rabba. You want to know how many makkahs there are, how many Avedas you have makkahs in the Torah? The gematria, the word Rabba. Reish Beis Hey is 207. And that's what the Torah means. Makkah Rabba. Says about it further. Chananya, we had before in the beginning of Vayin Leikin, there were three opinions. We had that Yitzchak who said that there's no malchus by Karis, because we learned that from Achoise was included and then taken out to tell you get only Karis, there's no malchus at all. Then you had Rabbi Kiva Shmuel who said definitely there's malchus. They had an argument where there's also malchus by Chayabi, Mrs. Besin. But Rabbi Kiva said you get malchus because you could do tshuva. And one of the pshatim we had there, you can do tshuva, and therefore the the chorus will disappear, and then so those three opinions. Now we have a Chanim Gamil says that what there's only Malchus, and Malchus takes the place of chorus. Says the Gemara, I want you to know that the others actually argue with Chananya ben Gamliel. In other words, Ein Bein Shabbos. In other words, we don't automatically know. Rabbi Yitzchak definitely argues, but we don't know Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Kiva argue because they say you get Malchus. But maybe they agree. Once you get Malchus, there's no longer any chorus. He says, no, they all argue. How do I know that? Could be learned in Megillah, Ein Bein Shabbos and Kippurim. The only difference Shabbos and Kippurim is El Shazez, here you get punished by a skilla, and here you get punished for chorus. In other words, there's no Malchus. Misa, and if the he's right, Rabbi Chaim goes right. Kippur also. What do you get? Malchus, and there's no chorus. Ella, she says, "Don't you be the others? Don't you be Misa the Adam be on who?" I'll tell you that this Bryce Rabbi Yitzchak holds that there's no Malchus by Yom Kippur. Therefore, we call it Shemaim. No Malchus b'chayav krisis leka. There's no Malchus, but could be Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel agree with it. If you did get Malchus, you don't get chorus. The time is going included in all our is why does it itemize highlight chorus by your sister? I'll tell you that you get chorus and no Malchus. Rav says, no, I can say this much goes according to everybody. Why? Because even according to Chalanya, if you want, ze ikes doine b'dei Adam, and ze ikes doine b'dei Shemaim. In other words, when you get Malchus, only if there was Eid Nasrah. But if you don't get Eid Nasrah, what's the main punishment? Chorus. So the main punishment in Kippur is chorus. But if there were Eid Nasrah, you get Malchus. So that's what he means over there. The Iker punishment. Mashing Shabbos, it's all about the skill and everything else. What do you mean You decided there's no chorus, you get Malchus. How do you know? Anybody go upstairs and come back down and tell us this is what the Abish agrees? Abaye said, suddenly you have no faith. The three things that the Ben Shemata did and the Ben Shemata agreed. Al Yodam. Man Salak Leil, anybody went upstairs to find out if David agrees? But Amar Elakrei Kadashin. No, but they darshan the psukim. But here also, they darshan the psukim. Gufa, let's analyze what the Shemalevi say. Three things that Ben Shemata did and the Ben Shemata agreed. First one, Mikra Megillah is a problem. Mikra Megillah, you're not allowed to add any more mitzvahs. In fact, remember that Rabban even one, including Mordechai Tzaddik, didn't want they should have had Megillah. Didn't want to have a Megillah. It's only because Esther begged. This is called Megillah's Esther. It was only in her chus. So Eila Mikra Megillah, and we made a Megillah, and then they got Haskama. Number two is V'sheila Shalom B'Shem. Addressing someone using Hashem's name. The Hashem have two pshatim, whether you're allowed to, or whether it's actually a mitzvah. And the Ritva says an interesting thing. There's a mitzvah to say, as the Rebbe says, Shalom Aleichem is David's name, Shalom. Bachlek is of Shalom, one of the 7 names. We'll say Shalom Aleichem is David's name. And there's a mitzvah. The Ritva says, you know why there's a mitzvah to say Shalom Aleichem using the word David's name? So we shouldn't forget the Eibishter. So it's not because they're addressing the person, it's more about me, that I shouldn't forget the Eibishter. And the famous from Araya Assad, how can we answer back Aleichem Shalom based on Monadarm that you're not allowed to say La Hashem Karban? What happens if you die after the word La Hashem? The last word you say is Hashem's name in vain. So therefore you say Shalom first. You say no boss. How can you say Shalom Aleichem Hashem's name first? Because you're doing a mitzvah. Have you marked him Shalom L'Chol? You're doing a mitzvah, but the guy is responding just being a mensch. And therefore is responding to a mitzvah. So the person who says it can say Shalom Aleichem. The person who answers back cannot say David's name first. He says Aleichem and Shalom. So and we're supposed to say David agreed with that because L'chayr using Hashem's name. And did he run? Maybe you're able to see big machlek is that he said the right, so he said Rabbanon saying Hashem's name in a sentence, which is in vain. The Havas Maisa and bringing the Maisa to the base of what's going on? Mikra says that Kibbutz Yehudim Kaim L'mayla Mash Kibbutz Lamata. The Abish accepted what they did here. Shila Shalom it says when the boy had born Beis Lechem became a Yem Lekaitzim. He said to those standing there and harvesting his crop, Hashem Imachem. He said Hashem should be with you. And it says another pasuk, Hashem Imcha Gibra Chayil. And Malach said to Gideon, don't worry, the Abish is with you. The Abish is with you. My boy, many a second passing for you just said that. Boy, I said that. No, he and boy, so the Obi Medai to Shmael Skim, I know they should agree with it. What the Malach said. What's the story of boss Maisa? The Chiv says, "Hey, call a Maisa base It says the boss, they bring all the Maisa to the base What happened was that by Hitera the basi, and there'll be all this food in my house. Test me left. Unbelievable brachas. And my what do you mean unbelievable brachas? Your lips will get tired from saying enough. Tell you when's the words of the Baal. What do you mean? When is that stage? Everything he says that you have all the letters come in parts of your mouth, but the letters Dalid and Yud have nothing to do with your lips. It's your tongue against your palate, and that's what he said. Just like your lips will never get. They don't say that, so you'll never get tired from the brachas you get. They will give you the koyach. Hashem oizlam yitin, and then Hashem gives us the strength to make all the brachas we can. Anyway, what happened there was that Ezra got very upset with the Shevet Levi. They didn't want to go and join them, go to Yisrael, so he punished them. And Machlekes Tanoim, whether he punished them that he forfeited the Meiser from the Levim altogether and gave it all to the Kohanim, or he said, you know what, let's share. Prior to that, Kohanim also were allowed to receive according to those Tanoim, and now we're going to share Levim or Kohanim. You know what? Bring it to the base of English, and we are going to distribute it. Chizkiah Melech also took away from the Levim the Meiser because they were all able to So he said, bring the base of English, and we'll have a common treasure, and we'll distribute it. Three places Hashem revealed himself. The Beis Din Hashem through Abasko. The Beis Din Hashem, Beis Din Shmuel Ramasi, Beis Din Shleima. Beis Din Hashem, the Tibbet said by Yaki Yudas Savayim Tzotkim. She's right. It's my child. I was one. Mana Yoda. How do you know? Maybe if she was a harlot, maybe she knew many other men. Maybe other people did. This whole thing I orchestrated, that her schus and your schus together, you'll bring out David and Mashiach and all these things. So therefore, I made this happen. And she's a tzaddikus. And why was her schus? Because she's ready to sneeze to get home. The Beis Din Shel Shmuel, the Rebbe says, you don't want to be negative Hashem and negative Mashiach. Show me the kachti. Shmuel went to the Eden and said, did I ever take anybody, ever used anybody's money? I took anybody's shirt. And they all responded, they said, no, you never took anything from us. You never stole from us. And he said, aid Hashem, the aid Mashiach. Hashem will be an aid to all this. I have nothing of yours by me in my possession. And he said, aid. He said, aid, yes, we're an aid. He should have said that they all responded. He said, who's the Yomer? It's a Baskel. A Baskel came out, Ani aid b'dabazeh. I'm the eight. So here we had the Abish revealed himself. The Beis Din Shleim said, in the case of the two women, each one claimed that the living child is their own. And then finally one woman said, let's cut the child in half. So he says, give that woman who said, don't let her have it, let the kid live. Give it to that woman. Don't kill him, because she's a real mother. How do you know? Maybe it's all part of her ruse. Basko came out and said, this is the mother. In all these cases, I don't see. Dilma, let's go through each one of them. Who says a Basko? Maybe Yuda. Keeping the Chosh of Yachim, he estimated the 9 months, from when he was there. The Israme, the Chazinan, Machazikin. When you see, you can explain it easily, the facts. And then you say, oh, but maybe something else happened. What's the nature of a person? You'll go after the facts. Maybe other people, but I know I was there and it was 9 months. So there's nothing to do with the Basco. And you want to know why it's about Yemen? Because Klal Yisrael, they're all ba'achtas. When they're achtas, you can say Rosh Yechidi. He said, you saw noise of Hashem. And Shloim Adam, Shloim also. But the Hokum it's common sense. You don't have to have an Nevi'us. This woman had Rachmanis on the baby. Don't kill it. This woman didn't. Obviously, who's the real mother? Ela Gemara. It's a tradition. There's no right from the psukim. It's a tradition that the Eibush revealed himself in these three places. Tomorrow, I'm going to finish the Masechta Makos. Have a good day.